Alright guys, welcome back. This is part 2 of this example where we're using the 3-moment equation to draw the shear force diagram, bending moment diagram, and find the reactions for this statically indeterminate beam with a rigid connection. Just going to pick up right where we left off. We did the 3-moment equation for span ABC. We also did the 3-moment equation for span ZAB, where we kind of made this imaginary extension into the wall with an infinite moment of inertia, which makes a whole bunch of stuff cancel out, and then basically we got two equations with two unknowns, and then we were able to solve for the internal moments MA and B, and then we already knew that MC was equal to 0 because it's at the end of a span. So what we do now is what we want to do is we want to draw the free body diagram for each span, cut virtually right before each connection, so that when we draw on the internal moments, we calculated them here as negative. So what we do is we draw them on in the negative sense, where we're working with the positive sign convention for beam bending, which is basically a positive shear looks like that, and then the positive moments look like this. So where we have negative moments, which we've calculated, what we do is we draw them on in the negative sense, and then we just leave that value without the negative sign because it's already going in the negative direction. Same here, the internal moment we calculated at B was MB is negative 98.214. So what we do is we draw this on in the negative sense on each of the free body diagrams because we're taking virtual cut just right before that point. The moment here at point C was 0, so it doesn't really matter which way we draw that moment. And then all of the shears right now are unknowns. So what I've done is I've drawn them on in their positive senses or the positive directions. So that way when we calculate them, if we get a positive value, then we know that we drew it on correctly and we'll actually have positive shear in that region or in that area. And then if we get a negative value for shear, then we're going to know that when we draw our shear force diagram, that right there, we're actually getting that exact negative value of shear because it'll be pointing in the other direction and it'll be opposite the positive sign convention. So to get those, what we do is we just take, first we take the sum of moments about some point for one of these free body diagrams. So for span AB, let's do the sum of moments about point A, and we're going to get that VB1 is equal to negative 30.3571 kilonewtons. And that negative sign indicates that it is actually pointing in the opposite direction, so pointing up, and like I said, that would indicate that this is an actual negative shear when we draw it on the shear force diagram. So if this is actually 30 kilonewtons going up and this is 50 going down, then with those decimal places as well, then VA for the sum of forces in the y direction has to be positive 19.6429. Alright, so now if we do the exact same thing for this other span here, we do the sum of moments about B, and we're going to find that VC is equal to negative 40.1786. So it's actually oriented upwards and it's actually negative on the shear force diagram. So if this distributed load is giving us 100 kilonewtons going down, and then this is 40.1786 going up, then the sum of forces in the y direction means that VB2 has to be equal to positive 59.8214. Cool, so now we have everything that we need to be able to draw the shear force diagram and then the bending moment diagram because we have all of the internal shears and moments right at the ends of each spans. So if we come down here and we set up our shear force diagram, then we can go ahead and plot the points that we do know. So we know that right here on the left-hand side of span AB, we have a shear of positive 19.6429. And then on the far right-hand side of span AB, we have a shear of negative 30.3571. So we know that in an area of a span that doesn't have a distributed load, the shear will be constant until it experiences a point load, or until it finds a point load. So we're going to go out straight here until we hit that point load that's halfway across the beam. And then in this region, the shear is also constant until we hit that point load. So then what we do is we connect these, and boom, there we go. So one thing to observe here that's kind of cool is when we have a point load on a span, basically it makes the shear jump by the magnitude of the point load. If it's pressing down, the shear force drops, and if it's pressing up, the shear force jumps up. But here, this magnitude is 50 kilonewtons, and so if you actually take 19.6429 plus negative 30, or sorry, plus 30.3571, you actually get exactly 50 kilonewtons. So that's a nice little check to make sure that, or to kind of check that it looks like we're doing it correctly so far. What we want to do now is we want to jump over into the second span here, where we know that the shear on the far left-hand side of the span is positive 59.8214 kilonewtons. And then we want to draw on the shear on the far right-hand side, where we had negative 40.1786. So there's a few ways to think about how we should connect these. Obviously, the easiest one is we know that where we have a distributed load of 10 kilonewtons per meter, that the shear is basically falling or going more negative towards the negative side, I guess, 10 kilonewtons every meter. So if you sum that up, you basically have 10 kilonewtons per meter times 10 meters. So we're looking for a total linear change in this region of 100 kilonewtons, and 59.8214 minus 100 gives you negative 40.1786. So basically what you do is you just connect the dots, boom, just like that, and then we connect these dots as well, and we just finish it off nicely to close it, just like that. All right, so that's the whole shear force diagram done now. What we should do is we should label on these distances so we don't get confused in the next step. This is 5 meters. This span here was 5 meters. We don't actually know this span here, but we can really easily calculate that with similar triangles. So it's just 5.9 and 4.01. Basically, the decimal place just moves over 1. All right. The other thing that we do need to do here before we draw the bending moment diagram is it's going to be really helpful for us if we just go ahead and calculate the areas here under the shear force diagram. And we're going to use those as the changes in magnitude for the bending moment diagram as we move across these areas. And as always, where we have these constant sections in the shear force diagram, we get linear changes in magnitude in the bending moment diagram. And where we have linear changes in the shear force diagram, we get parabolic changes in the bending moment diagram. Where the areas are positive, that change in magnitude is positive, and where those areas are negative, that change in magnitude is negative as we move from left to right across the bending moment diagram. So when we come up here, we got to figure out what we're starting with for the internal moment at point A. But we did calculate that here. It was negative 44.643 kilonewton meters. So let's drop that on. And then the next point that we want to put on is basically here at this discontinuity. So we have a change in magnitude of the area here. So the change in magnitude is 98.2145. So if you add that to negative 44.643, we get 53.5715. Okay, the next area here is negative, so we're going to be subtracting. So we have 53.5713 minus 151.7855. That brings us down to minus 28, or negative 28.214. Now this is an interesting point to pause and just think about this number, negative 98.214. If we actually go back up to the Freebody diagrams that we had here, we actually have negative 98.214, or same thing that we had calculated here when we had basically just solved for the internal moment at B. So far, based on the shear force diagram that we drew, it looks like we're actually hitting the point that we were expecting to hit, which is great. All right, so for this next region in here, we have positive change in area from basically from point B up until this intersection. And once we cross this point, we're entering negative area on the shear force diagram, so then we start getting negative change in area. So we have parabolic change basically going up, and then parabolic change is going to be coming back down. So if we have negative 98.214 plus this area, 178.92999, then our parabola peaks out here at 80.71599. And that's perfect because for the change in magnitude in the next region, we're looking to subtract 80.71599. So if we subtract that, we end up right back at 0, which is exactly what we were expecting because this was basically, we come back up here, this was right here, that end of a span right there, and we already knew from the beginning that MC had to be equal to 0. All right, so we got the shear force diagram, we got the bending moment diagram. The only last thing that we have to consider is just figuring out what the reactions are. So we have MA, we're going to have AY, we also have BY and CY, BY and CY, and obviously AX is just going to be 0. So when we think about the reaction at A, let's draw a little Freebody diagram of it, virtually cut, infinitesimally close basically to it. We know that we have positive shear here because it's positive on the shear force diagram. So according to our positive sign convention, that shear goes down with a basically a magnitude of 19.6. That means that the reaction here for the force balance has to be 19.6 going up. Otherwise, this thing wouldn't be in static equilibrium. So first of all, AY is going to be 19.6 kilonewtons pressing up. Now, if you take this distance here as being basically like as close to 0 as you can get, or like 1 over infinity, or just infinitesimally small, then we also know that we have a negative moment here, so we can draw on the internal moment, so negative, so it would be going like that. This is 44.643, And when this is infinitesimally small, the force couple caused by these two forces here basically goes to zero. So the only moment right at that support is equal and opposite to the internal moment here. So this has to be going like this. This would be MA, and it would be basically just 44.6 kilonewtons going opposite to the internal moment. So this is 44.6 kilonewton meters. And it is going the reaction moment MA is going counterclockwise. All right, so when we look at BY, just like how this jump down is caused by that point load of 50 kilonewtons pressing down, and it's basically the total jump. This jump here is caused by a point load pressing up, and that point load is BY, and because the jump is upwards, we know that the force is oriented upwards. So if we take 30.3571 plus 59.8214, get rid of a couple decimal places, then we're going to find that the sum of those two numbers is 90.2 kilonewtons. 90.2 kilonewtons, and again, that is oriented upwards because that is basically the direction of the jump. And then for CY, we can do one more free body diagram here to figure out which way stuff is happening. So we know that we got this little roller support in here. And we have a negative shear here. So the negative shear on the left of a virtual cut is oriented down like this because that's opposite the positive sign convention. And so if this is basically 40.2 kilonewtons pressing down, then the reaction here at CY has to be 40.2 kilonewtons pressing up for this thing to be in static equilibrium for the force balance in the y direction. So CY is 40.2 kilonewtons oriented in the upwards direction. All right, so the one last check that I would suggest doing is add up all of these forces that you have here. So 19.6 plus 90.2 plus 40.2, and you're going to find that their sum of the forces is equal to 150 kilonewtons going up. And when we look back at the original drawing of the problem, which was right here, let's look at all of the forces going down. So we have 50 going down and then 100 from this distributed load going down. So that looks like this whole thing should be in static equilibrium if we have 150 kilonewtons of applied load going down and 150 kilonewtons of reactions going back up. So that's a really good check for us. And otherwise, it looks like we've done everything correct. We've got the shear force diagram, we've got the bending moment diagram, and we got all of the reactions. So guys, if you watched both videos, thank you so much for watching. I really hope this stuff helps, and I guess I'll see you in the next video.